I think we're very lucky to be in a business where there's forward progress, and forward progress can happen relatively quickly too. We're not stuck in some job that you're doing the same thing day after day, week after week, year after year for decades. I mean, the business should be fresh. You should be leveling up, right? So when we come into a new year, I really find that we're met with a lot of great positive energy. Like, you know what? It's a new year. Let's make things happen. Let's make this a great year. Out with the old, in with the new. So this episode is really dedicated to, how can I properly plan? What is the most effective way that I can come up with a plan? And what are the steps to make sure this plan becomes reality and I can have myself a great, successful year? So that's really what this episode's all about. Now, in years past, and this is what I do, I follow the strategic planning model. Okay, so let me throw that up for you. The strategic planning model starts off with an umbrella with the vision, where's the company going, the mission, who are we, the values, what are important to the company and to all the staff members that participate with this business. And then we come up with, 3 or 4 strategic initiatives, and beside each strategic initiative, you come up with your SMART goals. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, agreed and aligned, realistic, and time-bound. And then you've got some great action items behind, all these SMART goals. Now, that might sound a little complicated, and I think for a lot of people, maybe it is. So I think if I put together an episode on, follow this strategic planning model, I think a lot of people might be like, it's too much. I don't really know where to go. So I did simplify this. So there's the good news for people watching this. I've got a much simpler version that I want to share. But before I dive into the simple version, I think it's a good place to start by revisiting your values. My son is, 13 years of age, and I'm going through this process with him. I'm showing him the Franklin Covey, really the pyramid, where, on the very bottom of this pyramid, clearly identify what the values are, like what's important to you. Then you can get into your game planning and your goal setting. Then you do your weekly planning, your daily planning. So again, I'm going through this process with my son, and I don't think it's too soon for him. He likes this, and I think this is really helping him. This next year, he's working on his second business, which is pretty cool, watching this little entrepreneur in the making here. But it really starts with, again, identifying what your values are. And I just look at it this way. If it's a value of yours, right? Like if you're engaged in doing things that are important to you, it's a value, you'll get energy for days. You're not gonna burn out. You'll be energized by doing things that are important to you, things that matter to you. If you're doing things that just don't matter, it's easy to fall off track. Think about all the gyms across the country that beef up their staff for January, right? Like, there's a ton of people coming in, buying memberships. They're going to start working out. This is the year to get into shape. But if you haven't really thought through your values, if physical fitness just isn't a value, if your health isn't a value, it's going to be easy to fall off. It's going to be easy to hit the snooze button, stay in bed. And then again, these gyms, they start getting rid of this staff in February at some point in time because they just know that it's only the real diehards that continuously keep coming to the gym. All the people that started off with all the right intentions, if they didn't have the right game plans, if they didn't have the right values, they're going to fall off. Okay, so we want to make sure we avoid falling off. We want to have the most productive year we can. So let's dive into my simplest version of putting together a quarterly game plan. So here goes. I did some reflecting. Again, I've been following this strategic planning model for years, and it's been working for me. And I teach this. I pass this along to people that I work with over the years. And I was really asking myself, how do I get more people to participate? And for those that do participate, for those that do set game plans and goals, how do I have the highest law of average that I possibly can of people succeeding with the game planning? So I just asked a ton of really smart people. When I say smart people, Gary Polson I sat down with and had a great conversation, Brennan Falkerson, and the list goes on. But just I wanted the best and brightest get their heads together on, okay, what is the simplest form we can come up with? And how do we get the highest number of people to succeed in following through and achieving their game plan? So here goes, okay, here goes. So take a look at this. So the goals of 2023, that's really what this thing says. And right at the very top, plan the attack and attack the plan. Just right off the bat, 3 bullets. This is a quarterly game plan, not annual. So I've changed that up. This is just for a quarter. There's got to be monthly follow-up. Are you willing to schedule a monthly call to follow up on your plan and your progress? You need to partner with somebody on this, okay? You can't just do this on your own. And you got to continue. Every quarter, come up with a new plan, okay? Come up with a new plan. So we thought, listen, you got to have vision. I mean, we got to take from that strategic planning model, there's got to be a vision or a theme for the year. Mission statement, simple way to look at this. Who are we now? Okay, who are we now? And a vision statement of who do we want to be? What are we growing into? And then again, you look at the bullets on there. We'll be talking about our vision hundreds of times in 2023 with interviews, with reps, with owners, with the org, website, etc. So it's well worth our time to put some good thought into this. It'll be our guiding compass. And then, again, just to make it simple, this is just really a one-pager. Like, you talk about simple, like really your goal-setting process in one page? Yep. What's your big focus? And really, what are your 2 big focuses? Let's just simplify it to 2 big things you want to accomplish, all right? And after that, just what are the action items? The magic's really in the action. Who does what by when? Like without action, if it's just all talk and there's no walk, the goals are just dreams. But goals become reality when the rubber meets the road, so to speak, when there's action. That's when good things are going to happen. So that's the simplest process that we could come up with. Again, just what's the vision? What's the theme, for the quarter or theme for the year? Like, what do you really want to accomplish? For a lot of reps, like, listen, this year, I want to become an owner. I want to get incorporated. Okay, that could be the big vision. Okay, big vision for the year. And then what are the 2 focuses? Think this through. What are the 2 things that if I do these 2 things right, it'll be a compounding effect with so many other areas of my life? What are the 2 big focuses? And what are those action items that support each focus? Who does what by when? Come up with a series. I put 5 bullet points on there. You might have more, you might have less, but make sure there's action. There's always magic in the action. I have 4 thoughts that I want to share, okay, with this quarterly game planning, all right? So thought number 1 for you is setting goals doesn't guarantee success. It just increases the chances of success. That's how I look at goal setting. Okay, set your goal. Like, you can't take it to the bank. Like, it's not a automatic. It's not a for sure it's going to happen. But it really does increase the probability of it happening. You're kind of throwing it out there into the universe. Like, the fact that you're thinking through this, you're being intentional. I really think that intentionality dramatically puts the law of averages in your favor. So that's thought number 1 for you. Thought number 2 is you've got to protect your confidence. It's always important to, again, you set goals and you want to stay confident with those goals. You got to protect your confidence. So I look at my game plan as a living, breathing document, which means I can slightly tweak this. I can change this. If I start the year off and I'm really starting on the wrong track, that doesn't mean scrap it, throw in the trash, and let's set some new goals for next year. Like, no way, I'm not writing the year off. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's change the goals. Let's adjust. And that's why I went from an annual game planning process to just quarterly. Okay, for the next 3 months, like, what am I running towards? But again, if you're starting the year off or you're starting the quarter off and it's just not going as planned, just pause, pivot, and let's adjust. All right? My third thought for you is really calendar and accountability. Okay, so as I said with that game plan, like once per month, 12 times per year, I need to check in, and I need to check in with somebody. I need to ask somebody to enter my life and hold me accountable. Now, holding somebody accountable isn't always a bad thing. Like, hey, let me share with you what I'm doing right. Let me share my wins. Feels good to share that with somebody, get a pat on the back. I mean, of course. And what are my shortcomings? Where am I falling short? And do you have any thoughts for me? So I need to put it on the calendar. I can't just talk about it. I got to schedule it, okay? And I got to partner with somebody. I got to find somebody that's willing to hold me by the hand for this year, for this quarter, and make sure that I'm on the right track, somebody that'll keep me on the right track, somebody that I trust, somebody I admire, somebody I like, and I can return the favor to that person. We can be accountability partners. So I need somebody that's going to be an accountability partner. And the fourth thing, if you so choose, you can have multiple categories. Again, when I set my goals, I'm looking at multiple categories. I set goals every year that are spiritual goals, marriage goals, parent goals, relationship goals with close family and friends, physical goals, personal growth goals, finance, and business. Those are my 8 categories. And every category is independent of each other. So if one category has fallen short, I may want to double down in another category to, once again, protect my confidence. That if I'm winning in certain categories, that feels good. So I like having independent goals in multiple categories to just kind of keep me going through the year. So that's an option for you. I'm not going to get into that really in this episode. But if any of you have any questions or you want to get into that stuff, I'd be more than happy to share. I mean, there's several people asking me about that. Here, I'll share with you here's my spiritual goals. Here's how I set goals spiritually. Here's how I set goals in my marriage. I mean, those are obviously really important categories, not just business, but for the sake of this episode, I wanted to keep it really simple. So again, you've got the blueprint here. It's a little 1-pager. If you want that emailed to you, I can email it, but you see it in the video. And that's what we're going to use this year to really keep ourselves on track, have great vision, big focus, action items, and let's have ourselves a dominant year.